Chances are you have accidentally called someone on your cell phone or maybe even received a call or two by mistake. No harm done unless the number called is 911. Fox 11 Investigates discovered in Brown County alone last month, the 911 center received more than 1,000 misdialed calls. Tonight, Mark Leland reveals how these wrong numbers are impacting you and public safety.
Brown County 911, what is the address of your emergency?
More than 5,800 emergency calls are made to the Brown County 911 Center on average each month. The operation is manned around the clock. These operators answer calls for help and then dispatch fire crews and law enforcement to where they are needed.
There's like a truck on fire, like literally on fire.
But Fox 11 Investigates discovered of the calls coming in, more than 12,500 in the past year were misdials, hang-ups, and those accidentally calling 911. That's more than 15% of all the 911 calls received.
If you can hear me, press the button. Hello?
Unfortunately, we have to follow up on every single call that comes in.
Bill McGlynn is a supervisor in the 911 center overseeing the emergency calls. Those hang-ups and misdials, he says, just takes away from those who really need help.
Every call we do have to follow up on because we don't know if it was just a child playing with the phone or if it was a true emergency and they can't talk to us anymore medical-wise or disturbance-wise. So yes, every call is time-consuming and takes away the resources from the true emergencies.
The problem today has been made worse with the growing use of cell phones. This is what most people use now to call 911. In most of the misdials to 911, the caller either doesn't even realize the call was placed, or once they discover the mistake, they quickly hang up. In both cases, that costs operators more time in tracking down the call and more time for police trying to locate where that call came from.
So we respond until we can either make contact with someone to find out that it is false or if something really did happen. And that
Lieutenant Steve Perry is with the Patrol Division of the Brown County Sheriff's Department.
Some might say it's kind of a burden on your forces. I mean, your patrols, they have better things to do, I'm sure, than responding to accidentally calling 911.
It is a burden, but it is a burden that we're still going to respond to no matter what, because it just takes one of those calls.
But all those hang-ups and misdials comes at a price. The Brown County Sheriff's Department says on average, it takes an officer in a patrol car up to 15 minutes to check out such a call in the Green Bay metro area. Out in the county, it could take 15 minutes just to get there. And for safety reasons, the Sheriff's Department and the other municipal police forces send 2 squad cars to all emergencies. If law enforcement agencies responded to all 12,516 misdialed or hang-ups last year in Brown County, patrols would have spent more than 6,200 hours chasing them down. That's the equivalent of 3 full-time employees for the entire year.
Hello, Brown County 911.
911 operators and dispatchers also indicate they spend on average 15 minutes tracking and tracing the misdialed calls with the help of the cellular phone companies. Their time spent would equal 3,169 hours.
Well, that's a lot of time, and it's a lot of calls that are coming in here and diverting resources not only within the center, but within the agencies that we're serving.
911 Center Director Cullen Peltier declined to put a dollar figure on what these misdialed 911 calls are costing taxpayers. But Fox 11 Investigates crunched the numbers. Based on the number of calls, time spent, and the average salary of the 911 operators, the cost over the last year, $65,000. We computed the same for law enforcement dispatched on these calls, based on 2 squad cars checking out each call and using the average salary of a Brown County Sheriff's Department patrol officer. The cost came to nearly $194,000 in the last year, for a grand total of more than $250,000 taxpayer dollars. And if the price tag isn't bad enough, what about the potential cost to public safety?
It could cause some delays.
Oh, definitely. Yes, it could. And depending on where that 911 call is and where that disturbance is, it could be a much longer delay than necessary.
Those responding to the calls say the money would be better spent responding to legitimate calls for service and allowing more time for community policing.
Do we want to reduce these number of calls? Absolutely.
Peltier says solving the costly problem of misdials comes down to cell phone users.
Correct.
He recommends not to let children play with deactivated cell phones, which are still able to call 911. Don't carry your phone in a tight pocket where buttons can accidentally be pushed. Be sure to lock your phone when not in use and he advises against pre-programming a single button to activate 911.
When we have these emergency buttons that people are not familiar with most of the time, that's where we're running into these issues and wasting our resources.
Probably my phone pocket dialing by accident. I apologize.
And the number one request, if you do misdial 911, stay on the line. Don't hang up. Explain yourself. Police will still be dispatched, but the process will go faster, saving valuable time and money. For Fox 11 Investigates, I'm Mark Leland.
And the phone companies are also working to help police and the 911 center by tracking your phone in an emergency. The kind of phone you use to call 911 can also make a difference.